Episode 51, When You Love the Lie and Not the Man. This is a topic I talked about back in 2021, but let's revamp it, let's remix it with a little bit of 2025 perspective. So how this is gonna work is I have my script over here. I am going to refer to it, and then by the time I edit it, it's going to look like it was so smooth and so slick off the top of my head. When you love the lie and not the man. This is going to be the version of when you tell yourself lies. Yes, a man can tell you lies and you can fall in love with the lie version that he's telling you. We'll start off first with the lies that we tell ourselves. Because people say that a crush is just lacking information when really, sometimes we fill in the gaps of that lack of information. It's not just the fact that we don't know anything, it's the fact that we put a fantasy in those gaps of where we want the man to actually be. If you didn't know anything about a guy, you would tell yourself that if he was cute, that he's these other things that you want to. Anybody can tell themselves a lie over the actual reality of what is the man. And sometimes this can happen to you if you are a love-starved individual. Maybe you haven't been the recipient of love for many, many months now. If you are a Disney Channel-minded individual, this can also happen to you. This is something that is like, you're forming a fantasy, and the fantasy is warm, it hits highs, it tells you the things that you want to hear, and every time you think about that fantasy, you literally get a little zap of dopamine to the brain. They're addicting to tell to ourselves too. I have been someone who has formed the fantasy. I'm not saying that I'm immune to it because I've done it out of being love-starved. I've done it out of just wanting something to desperately be there. And I have also been able to snap myself out of it. And I'll talk about how we all can snap ourselves out of these fantasies. If you are somebody who is dealing with loving the lie and not the man, even if that man is horrible, even if he's not what you actually think he is, sometimes that's enough to continue the love that you have for that man just because the lie is so strong. This lie that we tell ourselves. It can be about a man who clearly doesn't really want us, is probably showing emotional unavailability, and we're telling ourselves that they're actually secretly into us, or they're scared of how they feel about us. They're scared to be serious with us. No, that's a man who is genuinely emotionally unavailable. That's a man who is passive. Other times too, I have told myself that a man was really smart just because he was quiet. Baby. I went so far to call a man smart, maybe potential engineer, just because he was quiet and just because he was in a space where he knew more information than me in that space. When really it was give me 5 months, maybe even 3, I'll know just as much, if not be better than you. And not that we're trying to be better, but we were giving this man way too many flowers because we came to find out that that man was not actually all of those things. The whole reason why we even create the lie and the fantasy is because we're forming meanings and we're forming narratives that don't actually exist. It feels good to tell the story to ourselves. It feels good to create meanings out of something when we genuinely want it to go somewhere. For me, there was a time when I was telling myself the lie that this man genuinely wanted to be with me and that me and him had hope to have something at some point, when really that was a guy who was only trying to see me once a month. After about 3 months, I was able to deduct that this was a dude who only wants to see me once a month. Cue me blocking him on that 3rd month realization. I say this to say, sometimes the lie is in front of our face. Whether it's the emotionally passive man, the guy who doesn't want you as much as you think he wants you, or even the relationship that you're telling yourself that has a lot of depth and has a lot of meaning. Sometimes that's not the case. It's right in front of your face through these actions or the happenings and the story that you actually have to tell from what's happening around you. And yes, this can be a little bit of limerence. It can be just a part of the fun and the addiction of a crush. It's the moment that we need to realize that the reality is not hitting like the lie is. And we do get to that stage. But the reason why we stay so long in the lie is because it genuinely gives us serotonin. It acts as a form of escapism. It can be very effective in getting you through a hard time. Maybe you're going through something that's very challenging, whether it's school or like a new job or you're in a high stakes situation. The lie of a man and the high that comes with that can give you something to hold on to when you're going through your toughest battles. We can stay in this lie for a while. But yeah, so sometimes even when we know the ugly truth, the lie still activates us. For me, the lie will activate me on the treadmill. The lie will have me creating music videos in my head. The ugly truth can be right in front of my face and I can still get a little hit off of what the lie has to tell me about the man, the situation, or where the relationship is going. The best way to break up the harsh reality that is the lie is to get so honest and dead ass with yourself about what that lie is. You have to have the conversation with yourself. The lie is that, like, I'm telling myself that that's a man who has family values. Does he, if he's acting like a deadbeat dad already, not following through with plans, canceling last minute, giving ain't shit excuses about why he doesn't do things or why he doesn't reach out to you first? Other things could be thoughtfulness. Do you have to always chase down this guy to have a plan? Like, do you always have to find him right before the plan happens to make sure the plan even happens? You shouldn't be getting anxiety before a date because you have to reach out to a dude to make sure that the plan is going to be something that actually takes place. That's not a thoughtful dude. That's a dude who's not caring about how that anxiety makes you feel. If anything, they might even be hoping you forget about the date, like you just guilted them into hanging out with you. So yeah, get clear with yourself. If this is somebody who says that they want to be a boyfriend, are they acting boyfriend-like? Would you want your boyfriend doing the things that that person is actually doing? Doesn't matter if your dream and your fantasy is to have a boyfriend, like how is that person interacting with your fantasy? The reality is enough to snap you out of the situation if you don't really like the person, but you just like the lie. The problem is when you like the lie and the person that this stuff can go on for years. For me, when I barely really liked the person, the lie was good enough for like 3 weeks. The lie that I was telling myself was that this person was safe. This is a safe person. I don't have to worry about them putting me in dangerous situations. This one has dad tendencies. Like, he seems protective. He seems like a provider. Like, even if I don't want kids, I still want a man to behave in a way that I would want around kids. You know what I mean? So he was this person that I was telling myself was safe. And because I was telling myself that he was safe, it was a lot of the appeal to the longevity of the relationship until he started driving crazy. This is the golden deceiver, you guys, that has its whole episode on Christmas of 2024. If anybody wants to travel through time, we're in June of 2025 right now. He would get to the stoplight, and if my microphone is the other car, he would get like really fastly approaching and then he would stop. It wasn't like a slow, gradual creep, leave some space, creep. Like, no, it was like just approach it with speed and then just like stop like at the last minute. And it was so inexplicable because he wasn't angry and he wasn't like heated and we weren't like fighting. And sometimes we weren't even talking. He would do that and I would be like, why are you driving like that? Like, why are you doing that? Like, he had 3 of those before I snapped out of it. And I was like, that's not a safe man. This man is not my fantasy. Like, if that's the fantasy, like that's the actual situation is that he's throwing my nervous system off. I talked about that in that podcast episode. If you're hearing it again, I'm so sorry. That was a huge fantasy for me in the moment. And I actually verbalized to him when he broke it. And he was like, he knew he was like on his last fantasy. There wasn't very much keeping that man with me by that point. Besides the fact that like sunken cost fallacy. Also just enjoying the act of like the new friend I had made or thought I made. It's another story. And no, it didn't end well. It ended well because we're free and we're single now. The lie hits. You should be actively analyzing whether this man is living up to the feeling of what your fantasy feels like. The sheer fact that my body wasn't connecting to the feeling of actually being safe was like the first thing that got me out of it. But yeah, same thing with men that you tell yourself are smart. Do they do things that smart men do? Long, thoughtful sentences. Are they emotionally aware? Are they situationally aware? Do they have things to teach you? If that guy isn't showing up like a man who's actually smart, bam, babe, that's your lie. I did have other lies that were the ones that took the longest time to die. When the lie didn't die for 2 to 3 years, because that happens too. And sometimes we don't get out of it in 3 weeks. There was a guy who was a professional golfer, and he just, this was the lie that was created for me. Now we'll get to the lies that men create for you that get stuck in your brain. His vibe was that I was a college student at the time. He was graduated. Mind you, I was like 23, he was 25, and he was like, I need somebody who's going to be able to travel with me when I go on tour. He's like, I need a girlfriend that's going to show up to all my games. And what do you think about living in this city? What do you think about living in that city? And he was British, and he was 6'2", and he had that head of hair. And I was just like, for 2 to 3 years, no matter how awful that man was to me, I was like, but one day, like, we'll travel and like, we'll do this and that. And towards the 2 to 3 year mark, he was actually asking me to like go to places once I had graduated. But I was like, no, he's been so awful, like so inconsistent, so unreliable. Like, he asked me to go to Tennessee with him, and I was like, I can't even trust him that he would be like waiting outside the bathroom for me at the airport. He would literally just walk off, not tell me where he went, and I was supposed to just figure it out. It was like the man was trying to lose me, so I was like acting on that. I didn't snap out of the fantasy with this man that had started maybe back in 2017 until like 2020 during the Panini. We had like finally reconvened, and I mean, I hate to say it, you guys, but like his forehead looked larger, and it looked like not using sunscreen while golfing had gotten to his face, and hair was thinning. Also, his game became very predictable. I got to the place where the things that he was doing was not a mystery. He would just always try to reach out. I had blocked him. I think he realized he got blocked. He tried to reach out through WhatsApp on Halloween of 2022. Babe, I didn't even blink. I didn't even think twice. It was so easy to ignore him because it was like the traveling, the vacations, like the moving to a city, my big British boyfriend, like none of that's happening. Like, we laid that fantasy to rest real quick, and that's all it was at that point in my life. I still side eye golfers and my interactions with them. But we did have time. We did have good times. We did have fun. And the fun substantiated the lies that I was willing to tell myself until I think I got penny method, y'all. I think that's like one of the situations where when the man tells the lie, like it can be very effective on you when they penny method you, which is just like slowly doing less and less each day until eventually they're giving you a penny. I think for the monsters that the monsters do. If you do not want to get to the place where you are debunking the lies 2 to 3 years in, or maybe even if you don't want to get to the place where you are trying to fight off the lies at the 3rd week mark, how do we get there? How do we stop the lies from becoming a powerful high? Babe, we got to find out the truth about this person. I don't know how you know this person. I don't know what information you have of them, but babe, I'm supporting stalking. Yes, I'm a stalking supporter in the early stages. Don't stalk that man after the relationship ends. But in the very beginning, I think we should be at least looking at their Facebook and their LinkedIn. We need to know how they're presenting themselves online. If you have Instagram, even better, because the whole point of stalking early is to dispel the mystery. Yes, information empowers women, period. I'm a supporter of women doing this because there's a lot of things that you can avoid if you are just willing to do a background check with the phone number and the first and last name that you have. Or if you're willing to even just see like what their work history looks like. I'm somebody that's like, I consider myself sapiosexual. Once I realize that a man is not the intelligent genius that I think him out to be, I lose like 80% of my attraction. My attraction cannot just hang on a dude having just like a good head of hair and like pretty eyes. I also think too that like you have to ask these men the scary ass questions. The questions that you know would make him so incompatible with you that it would ruin the date. Now, don't make it awkward, but definitely do it for you. You can do these over the phone too. You do not have to do this in person. But I say you ask that man about his politics, where he was on January 6th. If you have a family value mindset, you should be asking if that person does too. And you should understand what that even means to them. Because some people will just say, yeah, yeah, yeah. And you guys could both be speaking English while talking a totally different language. I also think too that like asking the hard, scary questions could be things like, are you still friends with your ex? Wondering if they have a work wife. Like, you do want to get to the bottom of things that can make somebody so fundamentally incompatible with you. Sometimes for me, it's just knowing if a man is boyfriend minded. The second I know that a man is dating casually and that he has no interest in being a boyfriend, I like, I shut off in the middle of the day. I'm just like, bye. It was nice knowing you. Have a great night. Doesn't matter what we're doing, how nice the restaurant is, what plans we have after the restaurant. I don't give a fuck. I signed the fuck out. My man at least has to want to be a boyfriend and act like a boyfriend. I have felt like I was treated the shittiest by men who did not have boyfriend mindsets. That's why I feel that way. You don't have to go to the extreme with stalking. You just have to get the information that's not filling in the gaps. A situation where I could have prevented myself from finding out stuff 3 weeks late and after letting a man have access to me and finding out where I live and shit, the felon. I was told on the very first date that the felon was felonious, and it didn't like register within me to go look at this man's criminal record. If I had known that this was a person who has never seen a year in his 20s where he didn't have to go to court and he didn't have to do some type of like judge, jury, and trial shit, I would have never gone for that man. Like, I waited until that guy was ghosting me before taking me on a beach date, before I decided to go look up all the information that he was just willingly giving me. He was telling me about the county that he grew up in and that he was from. And he was also telling me about the state that he was from. And like, I knew his birthday and I had his first name and his last name. Like, there was nothing but information to go find this man. But I waited until I knew he was ghosting me to actually do anything with that information. And by that point, I was like, oh, what a fucking loser. Like, this person is like experiencing their first year not being in and out of the system, and they're still in the system. Like, by the time they were dealing with me, I was like, no, like, I don't want to attach myself to that. Stalk these men. Do it as soon as you get the information to stalk, and ask them the hard questions if you have them within questions reach. Definitely not in a setting that's inappropriate. Definitely not in a moment that's awkward. These can be phone calls. These can be FaceTimes. If you don't like something that you just heard, babe, I'm telling you right now, hang up on that man. Literally, like, oh, you didn't like wearing a mask in 2020? Hang up. You live with your ex-girlfriend? Hang up. But oh my God, one time there was a guy, he casually said the N-word and he was white as snow. He was a German boy. I was like, boop. Actually, I was an idiot back then. I actually went back and forth with him. You don't have to do all that, babe. You guys can just hang up. Yeah, even when you are hanging up the phone on the call where you are getting the answers, or maybe even if you are shutting off in the middle of the date, you do still mourn the lie. Like, you do still have a little bit of loss. There's pain inside for the loss of the lie, even after you just discovered that it is a lie. It doesn't go away just because you're aware. If anything, it sucks because you realize that like something in that moment isn't living up to it, and that can feel very earth-shattering in its own way. And all you really want is to get closer to that fantasy, and you're realizing that it is a fantasy because like this is the reality in front of you. This experience can be one that will make you just like chalk up all the ones that have came before it and judge men and dating by its totality. It will feel that way in that moment. Ultimately though, if you didn't want something, it wouldn't be for you. So just because you want it, it's out there for you. You just have to keep saying no to everything that isn't it. Even if you don't have that actively, you still are better off having no options than having a whole bunch of mediocre, half-ass, non-fulfilling options that don't bring you life and don't bring you love and joy. that is today's episode, you guys. Thank you for tuning in, everybody. Make sure to rate this podcast 5 stars, whether you're watching on Apple Podcast or Spotify. Also, if you are watching on Spotify, you get no ads with every video episode that I upload. So make sure to watch me on your Spotify account. I am being active again on my Patreon, where I am Fleeksy. I'm going to link it down below for anybody who wants to join. I upload my old live streams there. So things from Twitch, things from TikTok. You guys want to catch up on my lore and my personal life? That's where it's too much tea to be free. And it's there for $2. You can find me as Fleeksy on all of my social media channels, on Instagram, Threads, TikTok, Twitter, aka X. I also am on Substack as Fleeksy, which, by the way, we're coming back to the party. I took a month off because I had to really dive in deep to my new job. Also, if you have the ability to leave a nice comment from wherever you're watching, please leave one, because I read those and I love interacting with them. Or if you just have any feedback, I want to hear it. So go leave one of those, and yeah, I'll make sure to keep my eye out for them. Thank you guys for tuning in, and thank you for supporting Fleeksy Supremacy. Bye. All right, there we go. That's the end. That's the end.